Hello there, Soaring Eagle fans. Welcome to another edition. I think this is video 4 of this boat upgrade. The Marlon 12-foot fishing boat upgrade with the 9.9 Yamaha. So we've got the steering wheel, the console, the windshield put in, and we've got the tiller arm removed. And today we're going to start the project of putting the throttle and forward reverse control levers on and all the hardware and mechanisms that go with it. I've got some of it. Anyway, thanks for joining us on this venture of working with this boat. Appreciate y'all. So if you don't mind just doing a quick like and subscribe, helps our channel a lot. So I'm just going to go through some of the material here that we're going to put on the boat today. So I've got here from GA Checkpoint Yamaha out of Abbotsford some mounting hardware that the new cable and control is going to go through on the back on the motor. I have some marine cable here that I had from when I built the RV trailer. Had it on the shelf, so I brought it along. We're going to string that into the tubing along the control lines, and that's going to be our quick shut-off point, or emergency shut-off that we're going to install in the console later. So that's what this is going to be for. So this box is still some more bits and pieces that I've acquired from this project here, just some pins and washers and different assortments there. This has some nuts and bolts in there that I believe fit with this. And then what I've got over here is I returned an Amazon shifter controller that had a big humongous cable kit in there. Maybe I'll put a link to that one and a little picture up what I did have, but it was just too much for what I needed. All I need is just a forward, reverse, neutral, and a throttle. So this is actually manufactured, it says, in Italy. It seems you know, they like their lollipop red and black handle shifters on there. Looks kind of different and unique style, color, whatever. Anyway, that's the shifter that we're gonna try and fit on here today. And I've done a little bit of research on it, just trying to figure out where all this little attachments is gonna go. This is the first time I've ever done this. I'm by no means a boat or a motor Yamaha technician at all. This is my first adventure in doing this, but I love to be challenged and try something new. And so you just keep going through it until you figure it all out. So what I've got here, I've got the cowling removed, and the shifting for forward, reverse, neutral is going to come through here, and then over here where the tiller controller went through before, it's going to access our throttle control mechanism inside here, right there. And the choke is going to remain the same. So the throttle control doesn't actually move very far. I'm kind of surprised. Like, this house has a very short movement, and yet the throttle control on the arm over there, you know, moves almost a foot. So we'll have to try and figure out how that all works. So over here, there's going to be the bracketing that I have in that box over there. It's going to mount on here somehow, and then we'll attach these two cables here down at the bottom. One's going to be for the throttle, and the other one for the forward reverse shifting. And going to plumb the cable, the DC 12 volt cable through here for our on-off kill switch. Plumb it through here and come out on the console. So that's what we're doing on this section of the video, and hopefully won't be too complicated. Kind of got a little bit figured out on some diagrams that kind of hard to comprehend a little bit at first when you look at it. It looks a little daunting, but the more you look at it, the more it comes clear what they're wanting you to do. So I'm just going to get onto this project here, and so right out of the gate, it looks like I need to install this control arm. That's what I'm going to start with all these bits and pieces I have here. Now, with observation there, I'm not exactly sure what this is. This line goes in here, it looks like an air breather or something like that, but it just kind of goes in here and doesn't go anywhere. So must be some kind of exhaust or control or something. We'll figure it out later. Maybe some of you that know these Yamaha motors better than I do. It's a rubber hose, and it's just protected here with some sheet, and it goes in here and screws on here, and then it just goes into this cavity spot, but it doesn't go anywhere. So we'll figure out what that is for. But down there we've got 2 bolts that I have to get undone to get that arm removed. So let's just do that, and we'll just drop it down, 2 short little bolts. Nope, number 8. What do we got? Number 10. Okay, and I think that it's going to drop down on me there. There we go, it did. And we'll just pull that bolt out before it gets dropped into the motor housing here somewhere. There's a throttle control in the way there from me getting it, my fingers on it. Okay, now I've got it. Alright, so that comes off, and I'm assuming it'll have to go back on underneath this, and it looks like with those holes on there, it's going to line up like that, and then I'll put that bracket back on from the bottom. So I'm going to bolt that on there for now, and that's where the new control arms, where the control cables will go through for our throttle and gear shift. Alright, with a little further inspection, this bracket now is going to come right off, and then these 2 bolts and that piece there that I'm not sure exactly what it's for is going to bolt on right onto the side of this bracket, so we won't need this other bracket anymore. So I'm just going to bolt that together right now. Yeah, so we've got that figured out. Didn't really see that in the manual anywhere, but that just bolted right onto there and then on there. And then I also realized that inside there were some bolts and nuts, and I wasn't sure where they would go, but this isn't threaded like the other bracket was, so these bolts are going to be too short to put a nut on. So I'm assuming inside here that's what the 2 nuts and 2 bolts are to mount this thing on the bottom side here. So that's what I'm going to do next, and we'll see how it fits. So in this kit, this 6DR-48-501-03 kit to transfer over from a tiller motor to remote control was all inside this box, and these long bolts, a little bit longer bolts because it's not threaded, was in there, and they just drop in right in there. I already put one on there to hold it. Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. There's another one there. So I'm going to go get a needle nose pliers. Makes it a little bit easier to get it in and out. Alright, fish out the bolt that I put in there. Is still too small for this application here. It's for something else. So let's just pull that out, not drop it. There we go. So where's the one that I wanted? Not that one, not that one. So it's this one here. It's the same as the other one that's inside there. So let's just gently put that in, and we'll put a nut on the bottom. And again, it's the number 10 nut driver that does all the tightening on it. And I'm just going to have to slide this, there it goes, drop right in there, and we'll put the bolt head on and the nut from the bottom, and we'll tighten that up. And so there we are. So we've got the extension put on there that was in that box, and at first I was like, what the heck is all this? You know, later on, this is also going to be attached here for changing the gear, and at first I thought, what the heck is all that for? And I thought it was needed or whatever, because it used to shift from inside here with the cable going out there off the tiller arm, but there's a little point here where the cable is going to attach to, and this meets up with the square shaft inside. So this is going to now be our shifting mechanism. So we'll figure that out once we have this tightened up. All right, I was trying to figure out which cable to do first, but I'm definitely going to do the throttle cable first, because it goes inside here and out here and then up through this mechanism. So if I put all the other stuff on with the assembly and stuff here, I'm not sure this being up top here is just going to get in the way. So I'm going to do that part first and then do the outer side cable as secondary. Makes sense to me. We'll see how that goes. I might regret doing it in that process, but right now that makes the most common sense, because I need to get in on this little shaft here for hooking up these little control arms that go onto the end of that shifter, and it's really accurate measurements on the threaded part where that nut goes. We'll look at the sheet again, but I brought a micrometer along just to make sure, because they were talking like 7/8 of an inch or something like that, so we'll look that up. Okay, with some close observation, gonna have to change this grommet as well, where the throttle control is going to go through. I had to remove the choke lever and the choke bar right out, pull it right out, and it's going to go inside that square hole, and it'll line up a little better for the throttle control when it goes in there. So I need to loosen that with the number 10, and hopefully the new lineup will line up the throttle cable over to the throttle linkage a little bit better, because right now using the one that's in there isn't. So maybe that's why they've included this other set. It brings it a little closer into alignment. Okay, putting the throttle cable in, I was going to just leave the original rubber grommet and the metal bracket on there, and I was wondering like what this bracket was for. Now I see, but there is just marginal changes and stuff between the original grommet and the one that came with the kit, because I couldn't get the cable to line up properly. So I've removed it, and we'll use the same bolt holding this bracket together. We'll put this grommet in and see if it won't line up. So it's probably important to swap that out, even though it looks very similar, but they're somewhat different, as you can see. So I'll put the new ones in and we'll try the cable again. Okay, it does bring the cable port over a little bit for sure, and then this metal bracket will go and hold that in, and in with our number 10 bolt that we had that we just pulled out. We'll get that fastened back in there. Okay, that fits nice. I think now our throttle cable is going to line up better than it did before. Awesome. Okay, I want to make note of something here that I mentioned earlier. So this thread here, which is on the end of the control cable here, the threads there, so that's where they want 8 millimeters of thread exposed where the nut screws up. So 8.0 millimeters from where the thread is on the end of the shaft to up to the shaft is where that nut stops, so that when this length is going to fall into line with how it needs to be mounted. So hopefully the control arms, I had ordered some of these from Amazon as well, but I see there's some in the package, so we'll use those instead, because they're probably meant, you know, to be the right length for that adjustment right there. So have a close look at that. And I'm going to post this these pages on there as well. I think there's 4 pages, so I'll put them on this video as well. Okay, I've got the cable adapter on there and the nut at 8 millimeters, and I use a 3/8 wrench just to tighten it up on there a little bit. And now what we're going to do is it's going to take a little bit of finesse, and I'll hang up the camera here. But what I want to do now is just line that up with the cog that's getting close to right there, and put it on that. And then when we make an adjustment on here, when you want to tighten up this arm, you want the motor to be in the slowest idle state. In the idle state, when you rest the arm, you don't want the throttle pushed forward, so that when it starts up, it'll always be, you know, quarter throttle, half throttle, or something like that. Wants to be on the lowest idle possible before you give it any throttle. So that's how you want to make this adjustment on here when you line this up. So we'll get to that step here shortly, but first I have to just get it onto that little cog on there, that little shaft. That's the throttle control. So when I started this project, I soon realized I'm going to be dropping a lot of little tiny washers. They just fall out of your hands into the gravel, and then you can't find them. And same with cotter pins. And I'm gonna get myself a little kit with little snap-on washers, cotter pin kind of idea, where you snap them over a shaft. But these cotter pins go through a little hole on this one to hold that arm stable. So the cotter pin, I have no idea where the original one is, so I'm just gonna we just don't need all these big ones, of course. But I went on Amazon and just bought a whole kit, because if you buy one of these cotter pins separately from a dealer or something like that, you're gonna pay like $3-4, and the whole kit cost me like 12 bucks for, I don't know, 600 cotter pins. So now I'm set up for fixing motorbikes, go-karts, you name it. I got cotter pins until I don't need them anymore. So we're gonna see if this one will fit in there. And so I'll put a link to these little boxes that you can order on Amazon too. When you're doing these projects, it's really handy to have them there, because if that cotter pin goes missing, and I'm like half an hour away from, well, 15-20 minutes away from Lordco or something like that, but it means leaving the lot vacant here. And so having stuff like this on hand when you're doing little projects like this, just get yourself loaded up for, you know, like, you know, $12-15, $10-12-15. So maybe you spend $60 getting a whole bunch of little kits of a whole bunch of little things that are just going to go flying on you and stuff. Nuts and bolts, same thing. So I do that. And so anyway, let's see if we can get this. Okay, that's about got it for the throttle cable. Now somebody was to pull on the cable up front there, and we've got it clamped down. There's a little clamping tool. We put it in the slot here, and it's at the right tension, so it's just sitting here on idle. So right now, if somebody was to pull the throttle, you would see it gaining throttle control. Okay, that part's done. Now we've got to work on the gear shifting mechanism and figure that one out. I'm pretty content with this. I've got the right seals in there, and it's all clamped down, ready to go. And that'll all fit in there really nice. Alright, just a little break in the action here. What I'm going to do before I tackle the gear shift control, I'm just going to install the conduit marine cable that I've got here. It's a 16 gauge 2-wire marine 12-volt wire that we're going to use for the on-off kill switch, which we'll attach to here later. So I'm just going to leave some extra length over here and get it put in the conduit, leave some extra length up top, because later on we'll put the kill switch up there, because that's where we'll be operating the boat, and that's where the emergency kill needs to go to. And it'll attach to this little wire here, and all it does is it grounds out your electric start, or not your electric start, but your, I guess, your ignition to your spark plugs. So anyway, that's I'm just gonna set it up and run that inside, and then we'll get busy with the control cable for over here that's going to do the forward reverse shifting. Together, just so the tape comes off easier. The end piece I always fold it over so it's easier to grab later. Put it in there and we'll just feed that through. See it coming up there already, and we'll just pull that cable through. And the reason I want to do this is I might just forget later if this cable is laying inside there. It's like, oh yeah, we still need to put the kill switch on. Don't forget that. So here we are. And over here I've got that little push down on the tape here, so it's not exactly sure where. And here's the units, and we just unscrew it, store it back in a tube in the truck, and it's a nice little pull through. And remember that little tape trick, it's really handy, saves you a lot of time. Okay, I'm not regretting it or ignoring it or anything, but now I've got to figure out the steps for the gear shift change. So I don't know if the motor is in gear or forward reverse at this time. I'm assuming it's in neutral. I mean, those things probably spin whether it's neutral or not, I'm not sure, because the prop certainly spins. So I'm going to see if I can find this on. Here we are. And attach it. Okay, well that's shifted. Yeah, so that must be neutral right there, because I can feel it shifting. So this is going to be our point where the cable is going to come up to on here. And if I just pull the camera a little closer, you can see how it's all shifting there. So if I'm shifting this down here, I'm not sure if we're in sight, but you'll see this moving up there. That's probably reverse, neutral, and forward. Awesome. So that's what that's going to do. So that's what we're going to work on right now, and it shifts right up here and it goes down into the transmission and gets your forward and reverse. So we've got our throttle, we've got our choke hook back up again. I just put the choke in there while you weren't watching. Did that real quick, so it's just a matter of pushing it in and snapping it back on together. So we've got those three items hooked up. So now it's just the forward reverse, and then we'll start working up front to put the actual Italian made controls on there, and I think they look kind of hot there, red and black. Looks racing colors. So I did the same with the shifter control. Got it put on there, put a nut in there to hold it down on the arm. I think that nut's too long, so I'm gonna go to Yamaha at some point and see if I can get a shorter one, because it looks like it should have a bit of an anchor bolt on there to fit into a groove, but that's the only one that was in the kit that would fit in there, so I'll put that in there for now to hold it. And then it made this adjustment on here so that the motor is in neutral position when it's set up, and then when you go up front and pull on the cable, it'll go into reverse and forward. And then the same in the back here. I just put the fitting on here, put a washer on there, and then put a cotter pin. And I've actually found these cotter pins in the bag, so that worked really well for there. So that's our shifter control and our throttle control, and we also have our steering control. So that's our three controls in the back here. Our choke control is going to stay back here, it's not going to move. And then the only thing that's going to get wired up to the front later on is going to be the emergency kill switch. So that about handles this section of it, and then we'll follow up in probably tomorrow morning when it's a little bit cooler out. It's really hot here, about 30 degrees and sunshine here, so I'm going to call it a day and going to come back tomorrow. I'm first going to fit just to see where we're going to mount this control kit up front, and let's have a look and see. what I might have to design for a bracket to mount it on, because I could possibly put it on the side. The only thing is the cables are coming on at a weird angle, so I'm thinking that I'm going to try and get it up here. Now the length of the cables are coming up to here, which would kind of indicate I needed to have this control up here, or I might be able to pull some more cables to the back to slide this and put it, because that's about where I would like to have the throttle control. Somewhere in there would be good enough. It's not going to work way up top here, which would be possibly ideal, but there's a whole bunch of other mechanisms already going on in there, so we'd probably put it up here in this area, but it would mean pulling a little bit more cable to the back here so that these ones would be able to fit inside here. So I'm going to see about creating some kind of a mounting hardware to get this on here, possibly for tomorrow, but it'll be on this same video 4. So we'll catch you a little bit later. Well, here we are. I think it's day 3, and we're working on video 4 right now, getting the shifter installed here. So I've come up with a little dilemma here. Get myself into these a lot. So we've got parts from probably 3 different manufacturers, suppliers, and things just don't fit into each other's protocol as far as connectors, fittings, bolt sizes and stuff. I did have a shifter at first that was quite an overkill shifter with all kinds of electronic stuff, but it's just way too massive, because all I want is just a shifter for a reverse and a throttle. And so I found one on Amazon, built in Italy, which I have down here, have it in bits and pieces. However, their linkage to hook up to their controls was vastly different. So then I ordered in some of these from Amazon that Yamaha have as well, and I'm not sure, I think these are probably a little thicker here than the Yamaha ones were, but I can get a longer bolt in there. But where the problem is, the little stud that they put in to the shifter here to hold the cable isn't long enough to facilitate this for the bolt to even go through, for it to go on there. So I'd come around for a solution for that, I think, is just using a 6mm bolt with a lock washer on the end, plastic lock washer, so I don't have to put it down tight, so that you can pivot it back and forth, so it'll go back and forth without jamming up. So I think I've got that solved. Now the other problem is these cables want to attach right here in this little groove on both of them, just like they do on the back side here, and I'll take you over there just to show you what I'm talking about. So this is the same setup here as it is up front. Now this has like a little slot here where this cable attaches in here, and this pins down, does it on both cables, so this stays put. That's not capable of doing that up front, so it has these same grooves on the cable here, but I don't have any kind of a bracket to actually hold the cables taut in that position. So I think, you know, we can fabricate and engineer something there. We'll just come off the wall here and put 2 slots in it, and then drop them in so that they stay anchored. And so I think that will work as well. So I think I have this short stud issue resolved. Looks like a nice fancy little stud, but if that thing was just a little bit longer, it would work fine for these connectors, but it's not. And then yesterday I had a machine shop fabricate me this little bracket here, and we're going to just put that like right on the side like that, and then the shifter will sit right up inside there, just a little bit further back in there. So that's where the shifter is going to be. So now I just got to go to a local shop and see if I can get myself some locking number 6 bolts there, so I can get all this stuff somewhat together today. I'd like to have this thing up and running here by today or tomorrow. Today's Thursday, and Friday have it completed so I can take it out on the water Saturday and test it all. So I'm just stuck here a little bit for this, but I think you know, we can work around this. I don't have a fabricating shop. I just work outside an environment here, live in an apartment, so I don't have access to a whole bunch of handy tools real quick while I'm doing this. So I have to leave the site just to get some of these pieces made. So see you in a bit. So what I did is I picked up a lock washer, or not a lock washer, a locking nut, put it on there, so once the plastic threads, it'll kind of hold that bolt and lock that nut onto the bolt. And then put some washers there, and we'll just slightly lube that and have a nice little number 6 stainless bolt in there. And so it allows us to do that, and it stays put, and it's just snug enough. I can just tighten that up to the tension that I want, and I'll probably just tighten it up just a little bit more, and that replaces that short little cog because it just wasn't deep enough in here to go over top of this thicker plastic little mechanical device there. So we'll do that with both the shifters, and then assemble the kit together and get it mounted on side. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. That'll work. Just gotta start using that little noggin on top of your shoulders there, as I usually say. So this has a little countersinking washer and plastic mylar washer, and also looks like it's not a stainless steel but copper for some reason, and then a bolt, and we'll tighten that in there, and that'll allow the shifter to rotate on it. So let's just have a look here once we get this all assembled. If we'll yeah, that's perfect. I got just enough clearance inside there. Put a little bit of loop inside there on everything before we completely assemble it. And now let's do the same thing with the so this is a throttle, and this one here is the forward reverse shift. So I'm going to do the same thing with this as I did with this one. So there's that little cog that's not quite long enough. Okay, we're getting closer with this little shifter here getting figured out. You'll see later on I'm going to have to get innovative for another one, holding those cables in place. Perfect. So it's not moving in and out there because this whole cable apparatus is moving. Later on these will be held taut, and then we can move on with the project and call it a done deal. So now we need the centerpiece on this. Not sure if there's an up or down. Looks the same, both sides. Oh yeah, the bottom's a little thicker here. we might have ourselves another little issue here. That nut that I put on here, it might be a little bit too thick for this to go, because it bottoms out on here. So it's possible I could cut this hole out bigger so that it can slide on there, but that might not be the best game plan, and possibly, or we'll have to actually cut this a little groove in there for that nut to go through. So a little bit more thinking to do. All right, here we are next day. You hardly even missed me. Had to come up with a bit of a solution here to fasten these cables so that the cables wouldn't slide back and forth when the levers go back and forth, because they're supposed to stay stationary, just the cable inside, but the sheathing's stationary, the cable inside will move. So I went and had this little bracket made up with that little bracket that we made up yesterday for the control holder. So now we needed something, because they're kind of in mid-air here in suspension, to put some cable clamps on to hold them down. Again, the back piece is almost done, and this morning when I'm out here, it's already starting to warm up, but it's definitely extremely smoky, hazy, cloudy day. Lots of the smoke is filtered in from further east and up north, so it's definitely a hazy day, but we're gonna get this project underway here. So I came up with a little bit of a solution here to clamp the cables down. We'll either use that, or I have another little option here of a cable clamp and that. So we'll see which one of those will end up working, but right now I have to mount this on the side and get it bolted on, and it'll be at a little bit of an angle just because the whole cable assembly is a bit of an angle. I don't want to put too much stress on the cables up by the shifter. So anyway, we'll get that part going. Okay, I think it's a number 10 bolt here on this 6mm bolt. So get it fairly snugged up there. Won't fully tighten it up right now in case we gotta move it just a little bit. Washer on the front side and the back side, and I've got a nice shiny cap bolt to put on here, finish it off inside here. So I'm constantly getting zapped here off the metal because the power lines over top induce power into all this aluminum, and then of course I'm standing on the ground here, even though I have running shoes on, but I constantly get zapped when I stick my arm in here and close to the rails. So maybe what I should do is get a grounding rod off my trailer, off the boat down into the ground, so that to de-energize these, so I don't get a constant little zing zing, little zap, but definitely wakes me up. Need some waking up here. There. And now this wire here is going to be our shut-off switch, our emergency kill switch cable. We'll just get that out of the way for now. So I'm just going to play with that a little bit until I'm happy where I want it to put the less stress on the cables, and probably be right about in there. And I'll just clamp it down the same way I did with the controller up here, and we'll clamp this down. So I drilled a hole through right in the top here. I'm not sure if this bolt's going to be long enough, but we'll quickly try it. I did buy assortment of bolts today to bring along for the different thicknesses that we're dealing with here, but we'll just see. This one, oh yeah, this will be fine. Right up to the self-locking threads there. Doesn't have to stick through, so that's actually excellent. Great. And then again, we're just going to have to do it on a little bit of an angle here. I did vacuum up a bunch of the iron filings here, but my vacuum cleaner battery died, so I'll have a bunch more to deal with here now. So let's see if this bolt's going to be long enough, or if I need to go find myself a little longer one. That'll be just perfect. Okay. Just gonna put a washer on the back side here. Excellent. I like the idea that I came up with last night when I went home, so it's always good to ponder some stuff overnight. See how you're going to do something, because there's no cookie cutter job here. Some of these things just didn't fit together one on each other. We'll make it work here. Perfect. So the objective of this last bracket was to get these cable clamps clamped down here, so that when you move the shifters that they don't move, and get them spaced out so that the less stress on the cable, so the cables will work with ease. So we're going to go with that, and I think that black cap, wherever it went, cable down clamp, where is that cable clamp? Here somewhere. Anyway, I'll go track that down, and I think that's what we're going to use. Okay, so that's how that's going to clamp down. Just got to go get myself a little bit longer bolt, but that will work just wonderful. Okay, dokie. Just zap my ear on the metal post here. Did you hear it? So we'll just snug that right up here, and I'll hold the cables tight. I'll put a bigger washer on there just to give it, the plastic, a little bit more support. All right, So now let's see if we move this lever. Nope. That blue cable is pulling right through there. So we're going to have to do a little bit more clamping, because it's just supposed to slide inside here and not this. So it's my clamp there isn't holding it quite enough. So I've got to support it a little bit more, clamp it down some more. Hey guys, I think I've got it. I think it's working. This lollipop fishing boat. I'm going to call it the new lollipop. What do you think? Looks like a lollipop, don't you think? Black and red, or licorice or something like that, but let's call it the lollipop boat. But I've got it finally working here. I've got the gear shifter, or the throttle, and the forward reverse installed, and had to come up with a little bit of a bracketing hardware. So the difficulty I had is these cables needed to be held in that groove so they wouldn't go back and forth when this moves. So I've got that happening. So after 1, 2, 3 brackets, we managed to get it all to work. It actually doesn't even look too bad. It looks like somebody did it professionally somewhere. So it's all running to the back here now. I already put black loom on some of the extra cable, and that white wire that's there will get hooked up for the kill switch. Turn the ignition off on there. So we've got this going back and forth. So I've already tried it. The lever up top there puts the reverse and forward in motion, and then this is our throttle here. I've got it set up in the linkage there, and so the next part of the process is launching this thing out in the water again. So the steering wheel is fine, the throttle is fine, the shifter is fine. I'm all content with it. The only thing I have to do is just hook up the on-off switch, or actually it's not the on switch, but it's the kill switch and the turn the engine off switch up front. Have the wire in here for it, and it's come right into here, going to hook up to this, so it's not too much left to do. But other than that, all the hardware and mechanism is good to go, and I'm kind of proud of the little creativeness I had to do here for the bracketing to get the cable assembly to hold. Doesn't look like it came off the shelf, but it's not too bad, thanks to the local metal workshop that cut those brackets, 3 different brackets for me there over at Century Plumbing. And Bob over there is usually pretty forgiving and stuff, but even though he's been kind of busy this week. And then our steering mechanism's all good to go, and we can still open up our hatch here, and we're good to go inside there. So later on we'll put a battery in that. But as we're sitting here right now, this thing is a wrap. This thing is a wrap, guys. Thank you very much for following along. Stay tuned. So this is video 4. So video 5, we're gonna launch this thing back in the water. I had a maiden voyage on it with the tiller arm on there before, but I haven't had it out in the water with these different gear mechanisms. So that's next online. So that'll be the next video. So video 5, look forward to it, and it'll be a brand new launch. Okay, so this portion of the video 4 is a wrap, and I ended up just finishing off by putting the black striping, rubber striping on the windshield to make it stick out a little bit clearer, and finish that off because it hadn't been done. And the shifters, levers, controls, everything is ready for a launch. So let's get her in the water.